got it approved, maybe, because it's not real estate. Or the lot is big enough.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the April 17th Hyde Planning Board meeting. Please take note of the exits around the room as they have changed. If there is an emergency, you have to go out of the door that way or down that hall, one of the two. And now please join me as we salute the American flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Before we open the next item on the first item on the agenda, I want to offer a personal thanks to Cynthia Whitman, our secretary, who organized everything for the Planning Board Chair of the Year event luncheon in Saratoga, as well as organized, I finally made it through all the letters. Thank you again. It was very touching. It was a little bit emotional trying to read so many nice things said about you. But it was also a lovely event, and I want to thank our consultants, Tad, not really a consultant, but Tad, Pete, Victoria, and Bonnie, who all attended as well, and my colleagues who attended, Stephanie and Rob, who's not here tonight, and last but not least, the supervisor and deputy supervisor. And I believe Councilman Lombardi is here tonight. So thanks to everybody. It really meant a lot. And oddly enough, I've had a few people ask me how I got to get the award, and I said, hard work. At any rate.
Longevity, perseverance.
Right. Stephanie bribed them. That's how it happens. At any rate, the first item on the agenda tonight is a new public hearing for Vallard Avenue Coffee Shop. This is a proposal for a new coffee shop located at 815-817 Vallard Avenue, also known as Route 9G. Make it a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Berta, welcome back.
Thank you. Good evening. And congratulations again on the award. It was long overdue.
Thank you, thank you.
So, quick update on where we're at, just so you know. We're in the process of hiring an engineer to help us out with the DOT. Traffic. So, we're getting proposals right now for that. So hopefully we'll have that secured in the next day or two. And, well, hopefully by the next meeting, we should have that hopefully ironed out. I do appreciate the letter that you sent over. That was very nice of you.
It's what we do up here, don't worry, but thank you.
No, but I appreciate it anyway, so thank you. So we're waiting on that, and quite honestly, until we find out for sure if we can keep the one entrance that's under discussion, we really haven't made many changes to the plan until we know what's going on.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
In addition, we did hear back from Dutchess County Planning. They ruled the application or deemed it incomplete based on signage and lighting. But they also offered preliminary comments, some of which you already heard up here as well. I don't think that the new reviewer, whom I met in Saratoga, nice guy, but I'm not sure that Heather actually watches our meetings, so she knows what goes on. Now that she's no longer there, I'm not sure he's learned to do that yet, so it makes a little bit of a difference.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, as I said, we've all had some of the same comments as well. So, and you'll have to respond, obviously, to that as we go forward.
We're like I said, once we get the engineer, he'll respond to that, and once we know about the lighting, we're going to have the company that did the original lighting design redo it.
Great.
So, but again, we're waiting until, we've made a number of the changes, like we eliminated one space in the parking area and put a little turnaround in so people can back out.
And that was one of his comments that you heard from us as well.
Yeah, so I mean, a number of the comments that we've already taken care of, some of the landscaping comments we've taken care of as well. The only one that is a question really is, on his, with the landscaping is the street trees that he wants, one every 35 feet.
There's not a lot of room there, actually.
That's my point. And the other one is we have to let everybody understand from DOT as well as county planning is that the entrance cannot move any further north because of the telephone pole that's right there.
We who live here know that.
Yeah, it's about as far north as we can get.
That was his comment about the precise alignment with, I think, Franklin.
Yeah.
So, yes.
Yeah, we did the best we could, but without moving the pole.
Which should be an arduous undertaking, I can assure you.
Well, I don't think actually they would be able to, only because it would get them off of their maximum distance on the southern side.
Well, DOT has the ultimate,
Mhm.
call on it, so as far as,
Correct.
where the
Yeah.
entrance is going to go, so.
I think, like I said, we did the best we could trying to get it as lined up as possible.
Which we know DOT likes. So
Yes.
thank you, Mike, for that summation. Pete, do you have any additional comments?
Nope.
Victoria?
No.
Tad?
No.
Let me start from my right, Mr. Gercio.
No.
Mr. Oliver?
No comment.
Ms. Dexter?
Just a question about our getting a traffic consultant.
Yes. I'm sorry, were you asking if you were going to get one?
It was, we discussed it at the last meeting, and I know that you're taking care of some things, but, we have a traffic consultant that has helped us through a very similar type of application, and was, I thought, very thorough. So I just wanted to know where we are with that, because the more I think about it, we give that such a hard look, and it had so many more advantages than this site as far as turn lanes, and it had additional ingresses and egresses, and we spent so much time looking at all of that. I just think that we owe it to the town of Hyde Park to take as diligent a look at this particular application.
And I would agree. I think that what we should do myself, but I'm open to discussion by the board, obviously, is to see what your traffic engineer produces and then have ours review that, make sure that there's concordance.
At the very least, yes.
Oh, yeah, and then also comment on the internal circulation as well, which I think theirs will do too. Does that sound okay?
No, that sounds lovely.
Great.
I assume that we would wind up doing that once we got our guy on board, and let them fight it out.
Let's hope there's no fighting. Ms. Wasser, any comments?
No, just that I agree with what Ann Dexter brought up about the consultant.
Perfect, thank you.
No comment at this point.
Okay. I believe we have some people signed up to speak tonight. So, Mr. Berger, do you mind giving up the microphone for a bit?
Not at all.
I think the first name was Janet Horvat. Come on up, please.
I didn't know I was speaking, but I'll speak. I got the notice that within 150 feet of my property, there was going to be construction. That's why I came here.
You probably didn't have a chance to take a look at what's proposed.
No.
So essentially, the building that's there right now that's been a variety of things lately, last I think Butchie's Barbecue, that building is
Yeah.
going, the back half of it will be essentially taken off. It's going to turn into a coffee shop that's primarily for drive-through, but they'll also allow pedestrians to walk up and buy coffee as well.
Right.
And they'll also, the site right now doesn't have any curbing, so it's kind of willy-nilly when you get in and out of there. Because this will be going to the DOT, those will it will require curbing, so you'll have a single entrance and right now there's proposed to be two exits. One would be a southbound, right turn only out, so you could just go into 9G and continue south. The other would be where the entrance is, and that would be where you could take a left to get back onto 9G and go north. That's essentially it. They're also dressing up the property with more landscaping. The building will be refaced, redone, so it'll be more attractive as well.
So there's no plan to go into the property where that auto shop is or any of our properties that are behind,
What's your
away from
address?
Route 9G?
Morgan Circle, I think,
Yeah,
is where you're located?
Right, where the entrance on Newbold is, there's the auto shop, and then there's one home there on Newbold. I'm behind that. My front is in Morgan Circle.
No, the only part of the site that would be disturbed is where the old Butchie's Barbecue building was.
Oh, okay.
That's really about it.
Okay. The only other thing that I wanted to ask was about the lighting. Will there be enormously high light poles with such bright lights 24 hours a day?
I've been doing this 18 years,
Okay.
same as Ann, and I can assure you our code does not allow enormously bright lights. Everything has to be what's called dark sky, so that everything is pointed down, can't point up.
Okay.
And Our lighting guidelines, which are actually requirements, are done by the county. They're in the process of being revised because when we were first appointed, we were evaluating sodium halide and or sodium, whatever it was, old-fashioned lighting. Now that there's LED, we look for different things. One of which we look for is called a Kelvin value, and that's actually the color of the light. So it can vary by numbers, but if you go above 3,000, it starts getting to be bright white, kind of blue light, like you would see maybe if you're in a doctor, if it's being a surgeon, you want to have bright lights so you see everything. So we actually evaluate what color the light is now as well, or the temperature as it's called. But no, no upward lighting is proposed, no Las Vegas-y lighting, I promise you.
Okay, great. I would think that I would rather have something like that than where, like, Hell's Angels is going to be meeting every weekend or something, playing loud music or whatever.
Thank you, ma'am. I promise you the board will do a good job of making sure the architecture, and Mr. Berta is the architect, he's designing it. We'll make sure that's an attractive site once it's completed.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. There's Bonnie. Would anyone else like to speak about the application? Please come on up, speak into the microphone, and if you could say your name for the record and what your address is.
Hello, everyone.
Hello?
My name is Sandra Jernigan. This is David Harris, my husband. We are in 3 New Bowl Drive, literally right there. That's us. Question. It's going to be a drive-through. There's a spot, I have pictures, there's a spot that's right there. It's about 5 feet from our back fence, literally 5 feet from our back fence. So I see that they have rocks and things out there and so forth. And it's similar to the drive-through that's on 9. It's going to be like that where they come in and come back out.
Which side are you referring to on Route 9? I'm sorry.
There's a big coffee shop there. Where is it? Yeah, on the southbound side, on the northbound side.
Do you mean
May I?
Dunkin', please? Do you mean Dunkin' Donuts on 9?
Or the one they're constructing?
It's way up on 9. There's a coffee.
Ready Coffee?
Ready Coffee. Is it going to be similar to Ready Coffee?
It won't be as elaborately laid out.
Okay. So my thing is, when Butchie's was there, we never had an issue. Whereas when they were cooking, there was never an issue. They always let us know when they were having something done or having some type of function or something, which was once in a blue moon. So now, what's going to happen is, if they're going to have a drive-through, we have to worry about the emissions. That's one. And again, as she said, the lighting, the noise. One, when people are on their cell phones and they're sitting idle, you can hear all of that coming out of their cars. We're right there. We spend a lot of time outside. We're very private to a point. So back there, there's a corner there. When you look at you can see the building from our property. So are they going to build some type of wall there? Or something?
A new fence is proposed. A vinyl fence is proposed to replace the wooden stockade fence that's there now.
A vinyl, how high is it going to be?
Fences are only allowed to be 6 feet tall.
For residents, but for businesses, they can go higher.
Nope.
Not higher.
No, ma'am.
Crazy. Okay, so again, where the noise is, another question? 24 hours, as she was asking, how long are they going to be open for? From what time to what time, about?
It won't be 24/7. I have to look back inside the EAF.
Can Mike answer that?
Because like I
Mike
said,
answer that, or the applicant?
mainly because we're outside in the summer, and if that's going to be going on half the
I think I
night,
understand your concerns, but how many people do you know who get coffee in the middle of the night?
a lot.
John, do you guys plan, what are your hours? Do you know what your hours are planned to be?
10 p.m. max. I know that the other ones up the street, or I think they shut down 7, 8, so at max, I would say 10 at the latest.
Thank you.
Because the noise part of it, and the lighting, because all the businesses that are around us, they're gone at 4:30. There's no issues there.
I assure you the lighting will be focused downward and will be dark sky compliant. That's all we can do. What we do is enforce the code. If it's in the code that you can't have bright glaring lights, then that's what we do. In terms of sound attenuation, I'm not sure what you're worried about, only because I say that because you live near 9G, which is pretty noisy. We have to look at, we have to look at ambient noise levels and then evaluate what the change will be.
Okay.
The ambient noise levels on 9G are pretty high because of the traffic count there.
But they're not right in our backyard.
Do you guys want to see?
On
where-
that, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, but.
Yes,
is
I know
the
what your answer
building-
is.
Are they going to keep that building where it is, or are they tearing it down and moving it over? or
The back
how does that
half,
work?
about the back half will be torn off because they're going to, that's where the circulation will go around it.
So it's gonna come, there's a corner there that I have in the picture. They're gonna be coming right past that fence right there?
Again, fence won't be there, it'll be a new stockade vinyl fence.
But yes. it
My
would-
fence
is not-
is
going
coming down,
along
as
the
you're
south
saying?
side of it.
Is
I
that
have
your
a
fence?
there.
Is
Yes,
that
that's my
yours?
fence.
Then
That's our
then a
fence.
fence will be put on the other side of it.
But yes, the cars will.
Well, okay, what am I looking at? You just gave me a map here.
Before we take additional comment, we may want to have the applicant
I was gonna
walk
say,
through
we
the
should do
plan
a
for
presentation.
everyone in the room.
This is us, right here.
Mike, do you mind
Yes.
doing that?
No, I was getting ready
Yeah,
to
why don't
raise
we,
my
yeah,
hand.
that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
This, we're here. This is
Well,
5
let's pull it up on
feet.
the screen.
Yeah, Mike's gonna go pull it up on the
Okay.
screen and explain some
Because
things that might
When we're, like,
clarify.
again, I've stood back by people's, and they're in their vehicles, and they're
No, we
on their
understand.
phones, and it's loud, and then the music, and you have the noise, and the next thing you know, you have people throwing their garbage out and things like that. Yeah, and so it's a concern, because we're right there.
Another thing that could be addressed is where the speaker and menu board are going to be.
Right. Okay, so every time somebody's ordering, we're gonna hear all that. Now we have this tranquility, it's going to be gone.
So,
We
right
do.
here, currently, the building, as you can see the dotted line right here,
Uh-huh.
that's the back of the building.
Okay.
What we're doing is we're actually removing that section of the building.
Mike, could you please grab the
Grab the
mic?
walkabout?
Mike?
Mike, Mike.
Forget about it.
Mike, the walk Mike.
There you go.
All right, so, excuse me. So, as you can see, that we're actually taking part,
Can you maybe turn that for the public?
Yeah, he wants to see what you.
Wait, no,
Don't pull too hard.
there we go. Okay, so as you can see, we're actually shrinking the building way down. So the building in the front is gonna stay where it is, the existing front facade. And we're gonna be basically taking about 20 feet off the back of the
So
building.
you're cutting that piece off.
Yes. So, and, then the fence, so this is you right here, I'm assuming, yes, okay. So, as you can see, the fence that's coming here, and then it's gonna, the fence is gonna be maintained here, and then up to about here. Up to right at the end of the body shop.
You're going to add a fence?
Well, we're gonna be adding a fence right in this area right here. Okay, so this is the existing stockade fence that's here. We're adding a fence here down to here.
In the corner?
Yes, because there's currently not one there, so we're going to put one in to help
Yeah,
help
there's
some of
fence
this
all the
out.
way around there.
Right, but I believe it stops over here. No, it doesn't.
All trees, and it's fenced there.
Yeah, no. Well, this one, we're going to be fixing and putting a vinyl fence in,
Okay.
okay? And we're going to be coming up to about here. And then the menu board that you're talking about is actually back here. So as the cars come around, the pickup window is here on the side. So what we've done is by cutting the building down and then angling it, we're having almost 30 feet from the corner of the property line to the building now. So we're really essentially moving the building far away from the property line.
More
So,
pollution, more noise. More
well-
pollution, more noise. It's going to be more pollution. Violet Avenue is one thing, we have our trees and things to sort of circumvent that, however, but when there's something like that right there, again, talking, they got your microphones, you have people.
if I can also,
It's gonna be crazy.
if I can, now the landscaping, we're actually adding some larger trees over here. There are going to be some pine trees, some variations in Norway, things like that, some spruces. So they'll be green all year round, so they'll be dense.
There's trees there now.
I know, but we're infilling to make it more of a screening.
Could be, that could be.
So we're trying to do, to help mitigate a little bit of the sound by putting in some more denser trees.
I'm really not convinced, I'm being honest. However, I understand your position, because you want to put this building there. If it was just a regular coffee shop where people drive up and park and walk in is one thing, but a drive-through is a completely different situation. It really is. So I'm totally against it, sorry.
That's okay. It's your right to be against it or for it.
This is crazy.
Any rate, this is though a commercial site, and it is allowed by our code.
To have a drive-through there.
Yes. We don't prohibit drive-throughs, I don't think, anywhere now, do we? Maybe
But we haven't
over
had-
here?
but we haven't had many commercial
No.
activities right next to a residential
Right.
road, which this is one of the first ones I believe that we've really ever had. Most of them are very isolated and surrounded by other commercial.
you're right.
So this is the first time we're actually putting in a fairly high-density commercial activity right next door to residences.
Because Violet Avenue is
I'm
busy.
just pointing it out because everything else has been very isolated.
One thing we can talk about as we move forward are, the menu board restrictions, there are actually ways to lower it as the night goes on.
Yep.
You can put sound dampening things on the fence, so, the board can talk with the applicant about different ways to mitigate the potential noise.
I want to assure you we'll take your concerns seriously.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak about this? Would anyone else like to speak about this application? If there are none, when would you like, Mr. Berger, you can come back up.
Sorry, I was talking to John for a second.
I know.
We were talking about that. One of the things that we might be able to do also with the menu board is move it a little bit further north to get it further away from her property. We can't go too far, only
Because
because.
it will interrupt the queue. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So, you don't want too many cars from the menu board to the window, because then it starts getting confusing with the orders. Usually you try and do 5 cars.
Can you describe the nature of the businesses that are in the back or the western side, the back end of this?
You have 2 businesses in the back right now. One is a HVAC plumbing company, and the other is an auto repair shop. Now, both of those, the repair shop is there, I believe, from 7:30 to 6 at most. And and don't hold me to these hours, this is just my observations. And then the plumbing company is basically they come in, the employees pick up the vans, and then they leave. And then they come back at the end of the day, drop the vans off, and then take their cars home. So there's no real work that goes from them there.
But there is auto repair, which would, of course, add to the sound as well. for the
Right, but
ambient
that's
sound.
the furthest part on that building. It's as far north it's in the northern side of that building.
Thank you. When would you like for us to adjourn this to?
Next month,
May 1st or May 15th?
15th. Because I will be honest with you, May 1st, I will be sipping a margarita down on the islands.
Good for you.
Really, you had to go add that in, right, Mike?
Also,
If I don't get away, Pete, I'm about ready to kill someone.
Ms. Franson, did you have any comments?
I do not at this time.
Okay. I'm making a motion to adjourn this public hearing to May 15th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I don't know where the conclusion, we got a secret number from DOT, but I don't know where we stand with a possible meeting with DOT. Do you? They're waiting for traffic information?
You're waiting for the study.
That's what I'm guessing.
I think they said in the email to you that they're waiting to get information
Okay.
from the applicant,
Yeah.
evaluate it, and then they'd be glad
Okay.
to meet with us.
Yeah, I think once we, like I said, we should have the engineer on board within the next day or so, and hopefully they're gonna jump right on it and meet right away with DOT
Okay.
and get that all going. I think, I think we're in a pretty decent spot with them, other than, just justifying that entrance with them. So,
Agreed. So we'll see in a month, but if you need us in the meantime, just contact
I
my
will.
office.
Thank you
okay?
so much.
Thank you.
thanks.
The next item on the agenda is a new public hearing for River Ridge. This is the townhouse complex located just north of us on the western side. The actual address is 273 Hudson View Terrace. The applicants are here. Basically, they have a recreational court that we approved the location of back when this was approved originally. They've changed around some of the ideas, and I think at the... Let me let you speak. I knew you were coming tonight.
I was really coming here to respond to your letter that I received the other night.
Should we say his
Aside
name?
from that, I don't know where the project stands as far as the process of approvals.
We were planning on approving it tonight, opening the public hearing and then closing
Okay.
it.
Not
So-
knowing the process, how long typically would that take? 2 months?
No, it's tonight.
He's talking about
We'll
doing
approve it tonight, but then it has to go for public hearing. That was, I
No,
assume.
this
You're
is
gonna
the
put it in-
public
Oh, okay,
hearing.
I didn't know that.
Well, not
My
yet, we haven't
apologies.
opened
I
it.
mean,
I know.
we can, like, delay it a little more.
No, please.
May I get a motion to open the public hearing?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? So this is a pretty much a simple project, but because the HOA parcel is rather big, and that's where the trees are removed, that's why I wrote the letter to Victoria to fashion the conditions, and we have those as conditions. I don't think anybody's going to make any comments from the consultants tonight. And any comments from the board?
I actually had a comment, or a question about your letter. It's the first time I've seen the suggested plantings as a height instead of a circumference.
Ms. Moss, can you comment on that? That came from Zen
Ah, but it's, my statement stands, I've not seen that before. We
It's
usually
new.
talk
Diameter
in
breast
terms of, can you use the microphone, please? Thank you.
Miss you too. I went to school a long time ago. And I learned sizes of trees, inches, diameter, breast height, but I also went to a forestry school. And forestry measurements are taken diameter, breast height. Nursery measurements are taken at the base, at the soil line.
Not breast height, in
No.
other words.
Nursery sizes are low down on the
Oh.
container. So when I thought in the sidewalk job, we were getting 1.5 inch diameter. We were getting 1.5 inch diameter at the base where it starts to spread out
And-
for
and
the
little
roots.
teeny at the
And they
top.
were like this tall, and I was, so I learned, I've updated.
And I
And I
defer to
don't know whether
Tad.
that's right, Chris, but that's what I was,
Nurseries are supposed to measure caliper at the breast height, but they,
American Nurserymen Association standards were quoted to me and printed out, and the association standards were like,
Wow, okay.
wow.
so that's why I suggested the heights on these.
Well, it's
Thank
also
you.
sloped. It's also steeply sloped, so
Is
the
it?
height will help.
Good point. And I should also add, thank you both for joining me on the site walk that day. It was kind of nice.
It was.
And we didn't realize how it's going to be finished soon.
It's real soon. I'm hoping to get all the foundations in before the end of the winter.
The last time I was there, that whole bottom section was just a big field of dirt and rocks.
I've been there for 4 years, so we made some hay.
You
Yeah,
made a
it's-
lot.
Yeah.
I saw someone I know who just moved down there, older man who retired, I should say retired, but downsized substantially. So, and it's a nice neighborhood. A lot of people walking all the time when I'm there, et
We
cetera.
like it.
So
We like
it
it.
seems that way. Any other comments from the board? Would anyone from the public like to speak about this application? There being none, may I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And I believe this is Chris's resolution?
Resolution granting site plan amendment approval, River Ridge, formerly known as Maple Ridge, resolution number 57-02Y. Whereas, now therefore be it resolved that the planning board hereby grants site plan amendment approval and authorizes the chair or his authorized designee to sign the amended site plan set after compliance with the following conditions. 1, payment of all fees in escrow. 2, written authorization from the River Ridge Homeowners Association for the application. 3, planting 5 trees with a minimum height of 7 feet, approximately 20 feet apart in a linear fashion, north to south along the western boundary of the property behind Building P. An additional 3 trees of the same minimum height should be planted in a linear fashion, east to west. The 8 trees should be a mix of red maples, sugar maples, and shadblow serviceberries, and white oaks. All must be 7 feet or taller at time of planting.
You further resolve?
Oh, that's not on this.
Okay. Be it further resolved that all prior conditions of the approval and site plan requirements remain in full effect except as modified herein.
That's right. There's also a change here too, it's the eastern side, I'm sorry. When I wrote the letter, I had that incorrectly. Because the HOA, the eastern side where you are.
I fixed it on mine.
Okay.
But he said western when he read it.
Oh.
That was-
He's reading off of
I
a
was like, I
copy that
thought-
said Western and
Western.
is missing the
Yeah.
last, be it further resolved.
Got it.
Okay.
It's right.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
We need a
Second.
second.
Oh, second.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the resolution as amended with Eastern and the, now further resolved, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? The motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Tad can tell you what the next steps are, but he can go ahead and, he can get his building permit now, right? Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
all that this takes. So, thank you.
Have a
Good
good
luck
night.
down there, by the way.
Thank you so much, appreciate it.
Yes.
Have a
And thank
good
you
night.
for letting us walk there.
My
Yeah.
pleasure.
The next item on the agenda is a continued public hearing. This is for a hotel project located on the northern side of the Maurici Kill on property owned by the CIA. This has been in public hearing for a while. This is also for those in the audience. If you see the trees that are felled where St. Andrews ends, that would be the entrance to this hotel. They were given permission by the board to do that because there's a limitation on when trees can be felled, and they'd like to get started, do some work, if they can get all their permits ahead of time. May I get a motion to reopen the public hearing?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Would anyone like to speak about this application? The reason why I'm saying that strangely is because the applicants are not here. They dumped, did anybody pick up your plans? What is that, 20 pounds?
Only you got them.
Oh, only,
No, there was a link.
Yes.
that's why. They just dropped off plans to us yesterday,
But it was
fresh
very
plans.
extensive links, a lot of
Yeah.
information.
Yes.
Yeah, so we all need time to review this. So that's why they're not here tonight, because they'll be going through all the changes they made last time. And the changes they made are in response to Roosevelt Fire Department, as well as the planning board and our consultants. So, but we'll have to go through with, and make sure that they've all been properly addressed. This is going to take some time. So, any comments from the consultants? Any comments from the board? Would anyone like to speak about this application from the public? There being none, may I get a motion to, I think we're adjourning this to May 1st, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
May I get a motion to adjourn to May 1st?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I believe we had some questions today about the filing of the subdivision plat that consolidates the,
We're working on the deed and whether all the comments were addressed on that plat. So it's in progress.
I didn't understand the file map number. How do you,
That's a question for Pete. I don't know how they had a premonition, so.
you can, like, reserve a map number if you want to?
Never heard of that.
I mean, if it's in the same sequence
Well,
as
if
the
it's in
prior
the-
map, you
right,
get
if
A,
it's-
B, C.
right, you do
Yeah,
A,
but-
B, C,
But they
right.
took it out of that sequence, so I don't, we don't know. We're working on it.
Okay, thank you. Do we vote on adjournment?
Yes, we're all adjourned with the last one.
Okay.
We are up to Anderson.
Next item on the agenda is also continued public hearing. This is for the Anderson Center for Autism. The applicants are proposing the destruction of an existing large residential building and replacing it with a newer one in a slightly different location. May I get a motion to reopen the public hearing?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The applicants are not here tonight either because they're having to walk through a few changes that they weren't anticipating, including a new wastewater treatment system for the, but they are going to be before next week's ZBA meeting for variances. I'm actually on that same meeting, so I'll get there early and watch. And of interest to some, Six Senses is also on that meeting. I have to get a variance for location for a generator
Oh,
that I've been dragging my heels on for the last 4 years,
I was
proving
going to
that
say, you've been talking about that for a long time.
the planning board chair is just like the doctor's daughter who bleeds out.
the shoemaker.
Yes.
The shoemaker's
Son,
son.
At any rate, would anyone like to speak about this application? I can also say that it won't be visible from Route 9. Very little of the Anderson Center, even during leaf-off, is. There will be sections of the river and across the river where you'll see it, but we believe that the architecture as proposed is actually doing a nice job of looking manorial, as our code actually suggests that residences should look like along the river. I believe they wanted us to adjourn this to May 15th as well. So may I get a motion to adjourn?
I did, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I know you were asking for out there, but also in here. So interestingly, the culinary is now, looks like they're installing their gates. And one of the things I noticed is that they had to put a temporary entrance for the pedestrians. And so I don't believe that we have talked about that here.
Good
And
point.
so, yeah, I thought maybe we should ask the applicant where they are going, because they're going to have to remove wall in order to do that.
Yes, they are.
But we know that they're going to fix the wall, but I just wanted to know,
What kind of way?
like, where are they going to put it?
Because they put the sidewalk in because many of their workers actually take the bus
Yes,
out.
they do. Yes,
So we
they
do need to accommodate that during construction, we'll have to accommodate a pedestrian entrance as well. So,
Will that, I mean, without having the plans in front of me, will that affect the reconstruction, will that affect the actual access to it? It will, right? Or not?
Yes, yes.
there's no pedestrian access right now, they just
No,
walk
I
up the
mean,
road.
vehicular, I'm sorry.
Oh, it will change.
They're going to have to, they're going to probably have to go down Anderson Road, I think.
Yeah, probably do one lane and then the other way, because you can, remember, you can
Yeah,
exit the other
back.
way, right.
Well, they're having to close the entrance at the culinary many times during the day because they've got big machines that are standing
Yeah.
right in the middle, going back and forth
I've
on
seen.
either side, but then
They've
they
got
open it up
another
and it's
main
about this
entrance, though,
big
right there, yeah.
to let some vehicles in at a certain time.
That's
So
a
I don't
good
know how
point.
they're
That's-
doing it.
That's a good point, we'll have to mention that to Brian.
I'm going to say, I'll email Brian on this one.
It's so funny, just, I never would have thought of it, except they're installing
You're
them now, and
watching
I'm
it.
watching it every morning.
And did we vote on the adjournment?
No,
Aha.
I interrupted.
Thank you. Any other comments from the board? Any other comments from consultants? Then may I get a motion to adjourn the public hearing on May 15th?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I'm so forgetful tonight with when
No.
we're voting. The next item on the agenda is a new application. This is for a second dwelling unit at a site at 112 South Cross Road. I believe Ms. Carney is going to be here, maybe Mr. Ackerman. Nice to meet you, Ms. Carney.
Hi, nice to meet you. Nadine, call me Nadine.
I'll let you walk, Nadine, I'll let you walk through the project.
Great. Is it possible just to bring it up too, or I don't know?
Oh, sure, I think, right?
This might be easier, when we're talking about it. So I just want to point out, with me tonight is the owner, Kenny Ackerman, and his daughter Sydney, and her husband Tim.
Nice to meet you.
So, basically, from the cover letter, I'm just going to go through quickly without reading the entire thing. But this site is in the GB zoning district. It's about 34 acres, has access from South Cross Road, and there's already one family dwelling on the property. There is a foundation on the property that is this proposed second dwelling is going to be put on. Just a little history, the house was constructed in 2007, and that's when it got the health department approval for the septic, which included, at that time, it was an accessory apartment. So the foundation was put in to allow connection and piping and everything from the structure to the septic, and then construction had stopped. So, we're just trying to kind of bring this up to date in accordance with the current zoning and establish this as a second residence on the site, which would be for Sydney and her husband, Tim. So, everything exists on the site currently, so there's very limited disturbance proposed. The accesses are there, the driveway's there. We met with Ms. Moss about, some of the conditions, providing emergency vehicle turnaround. So we proposed some widenings of certain areas of the driveway. It's pretty, in our mind, a minor application at this point, and some minor changes. There are wetlands on the property, but they are towards the southern end of the property. When the health department was reviewing it, of course, they had concerns. There was a consultant at that time that specifically looked at the area in the front of the property that was being developed and said that there was no wetlands. So even though that document is several years old, we did include it with this application. None of the other mapping has been updated,
And you asked for a waiver
Well-
requiring redelineation of the wetlands, which I think seems reasonable.
Great.
And I also note that you supplied a letter from Department of Health saying that you have adequate septic, signed off by Mr. T.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so we, again, we did the pre-submission, went over everything with Ms. Moss. We submitted the application with the checklist, an erosion control plan, a short EAF. We assume that this is a type 2 action under seeker, and we can definitely discuss that if we want. Survey had been done initially too, so we have a copy of the survey that was sent in. So I think the application is pretty complete, and, if the board has any questions, any specific questions.
If it weren't complete, it wouldn't have come to us already. Don't worry. Ms. Moss, that's a requirement before it comes to the board. Any comments? Tad, anything from you?
I guess one of the questions for the board is that there are existing solar panels on the parcel. They were installed prior to the solar law. So I don't know whether you're thinking it would be good to include some screening between that and the adjacent residential property or not. I don't believe it's required, but I think it's something you may want to discuss.
They were permitted, so there was a site plan at that time. So they are just, I'm just getting my orientation, they're just west of the driveway, and the driveway is very close to that line.
Very close to that line.
Right, and then it's treed on the other side of the driveway onto the neighboring property. So, as far as screening, I don't even really think that it's feasible at this point.
There's not a lot of room there, believe me, I noticed.
Right.
Thank you, Ms. Moss. Bonnie, any comments?
We took a look at the application, but really didn't find anything of note to bring up.
That's what I kind of thought, so thank you. Mr. Sotero?
For engineering, we'll primarily look at the erosion sediment control plan, and then obviously this has got to go to the fire department in terms of looking at access for the second dwelling. I was looking at the plan though, so there's like a gravel road that goes through, the flag portion of the lot to get into the larger area in the back, right?
Right.
So is that going to be like improved or just, what is it? Is it just like a path or?
So there's a utility easement that goes over the property. So this was at some point used by the utility to access that area. There's no proposed use it's just going to, remain
Okay.
open space at this point. So there's no improvements to that proposed as part of this application at all.
Well, the only improvements that you're proposing here is obviously whatever needed for, the new dwelling in order to get to it. And then
Right.
whatever the fire department might want in order to, access that second.
Right, so we
Dwelling.
do show improvements to the intersection.
Yeah, I see that, yeah.
Right, to widen that, so a truck can pull up, back in, turn around, which is pretty much in accordance with Appendix D of the Fire Code. So as far as the distance from that to the dwelling also is in accordance with the Fire Code. If they wanted to get closer, they could definitely comment on that, but this should meet their requirements.
All right, well, we'll take a look at it, but I don't think there's anything like major. We'll have to have a public public hearing on this, and does this go to county plan?
No, it's residential site plan. It's non-jurisdictional, I believe.
Right, it's non-jurisdictional because it's a residence.
Right.
Apparently multiple residences also are
Just-
non-jurisdictional.
Just one more, there are contours shown on here, right? They're very light, but, all right.
Yeah, that's the thing. It is flat. There's really no proposed grading at all.
Okay, good, thanks.
There is a sort of, you have to look closely to find it, but they're required to have 2 parking spaces. One is actually going to be right by the house, the other will be in a portion of that gravel drive you were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, curiosity, is the second house gonna have a garage?
No,
No, so you just have a parking area?
right.
All right. Okay.
Thanks, Pete. Ms. Polidoro, any comments?
I think we mentioned that the only reason it's here is because putting 2 single-family homes on a lot now requires site plan approval. Under seeker, it's a type 2 action.
Absolutely.
Those are my only comments.
So, before I start pulling the board for comments, where you have labeled pond, I believe there's right now considered to be federal wetlands, as well as there a DEC wetland on the property, I think,
So.
way in the back?
Right, so can I point?
Yeah, go ahead. Just take the microphone with you if you would.
So this area here is New York State wetlands, but the pond is federal wetlands. So in this view, this is not even shown. It's not even close. So this is the pond here, and this is what's considered state wetlands. And I don't know if this is...
It's working. It's
Okay,
working.
some of this too this is state wetland, and some of it had said federal, but now, once they're
We know.
joined, it'll be state. Yeah, yeah. So, but that's it. That's the closest on the property. And I think I have a dimension here from the house, which I can't read on this, but I think it's over 800 feet. And this is a federal wetland, and that's over 600 feet away.
The only reason why I ask is because, generally speaking, it's a requirement in our code that when you have DEC wetlands, that you show the adjacent area around it, the 100-foot buffer, so to speak. But that's something that I believe the board can waive as well if you want to. But that's the only reason I
Yes,
brought that up.
we would ask that, just because we do show the dimension to it, and that we are well over 100 feet away.
Thank you. Let me start to my left. Mr. Reed, any comments?
No.
Ms. Wasser?
Just 2 comments. One is, I think if the solar array is not being enlarged, amended, or changed in any way, I consider it grandfathered. I would ask that anything else be done. And just for the record, on the first page of your letter, under proposed.
Do I have a
No, it's a
typo?
minor typo, but for the record, you might want it fixed on the 3rd line, that the wetland is not to be disturbed. I think you need the word "not" in there.
Thank you. I apologize.
Don't apologize. I just think you want it in the record.
And when you read something, you know what you want it to say, so you didn't.
Every time you read it, it had the word
I
"not"
read
in
it, I read it 3 times, and I'm saying, why is she emphasizing that? It's like hundreds and hundreds of feet away. So, okay.
Thank you. Sorry for the confusion.
No.
And by the way, I was a magazine editor and writer. When I first started doing copy editing, you read everything backwards. Because
that's
that way you don't assume what's in there. You just start, like, at the very bottom of the letter and do them all backwards. You read each word that way separately.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's an old trick. It was kind of a boring thing to do. It was
Yeah.
kind of boring, but it was how we had to work back then. This is before spell check,
I was an editor.
all that kind of stuff.
Which isn't all that great, by the way.
Yeah. Ms. Dexter, comments?
No, I agree with Ms. Wasser's comment about grandfathering, and this sounds like a good old-fashioned family compound, which
Yes,
sounds great.
yes.
And you're my neighbor, so.
Mr. Oliver, any comments?
Nothing new to add other than just that I would agree with my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia?
No comment.
I also believe that the way Stephanie phrased it, and thank you, Ms. Wasser, that unless the solar array is going to be enlarged, change something, that we wouldn't require a screening. but we do now require arrays to be screened. And just, if you're ever doing this in the future here in Hyde Park, we generally try to look at things like forsythia that are inexpensive and that don't get too high, so there's no occlusion of the sun on the actual panels themselves. But
I'll use that on other projects, too.
well, there's a maximum height of about 8 feet, and that's enough that if you're looking at a good angle, you're not going to see it, and it gets thick and brambly during the winter, and so it kind of helps occlude
Yeah.
then as well.
Thank
Because
you.
evergreens will get to be too tall. So I believe what we're going to do is schedule this, set the public hearing for May 15th, but we can
Yep.
put this on the schedule for May 1st, to type the action and refer it as a courtesy to Roosevelt. Or do you want to do Roosevelt by motion?
Oh, yeah.
Then make it a motion to refer the application to Roosevelt Fire Department.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? That motion carries, and we'll just leave it on for the 15th, and with the public hearing, and we can type the action that night, because there's no other secret on it, it's just a courtesy referral. So we'll see you May
Make a motion
15th.
to set the public
Yes,
hearing?
please.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We'll see you back in a month.
Can I just ask before we leave,
You can always ask.
okay, just to close out the wetlands and the waiver request, does the board have to vote on that, or it was just like,
It's
just part of the
that will-
discussion?
It will be in the resolution that we ultimately vote for.
Okay, okay, great, thank
In
you
other words,
so much.
that will be sort of a finding, so to speak, or that we agree with you, with your request.
Okay.
Anytime, those are always put in the resolution itself.
Okay, great.
Those are in the whereases that we don't read, because we're trying to go faster.
And is there
that's what it's applied
anything
to.
that you need from us for the public hearing?
I just need a copy for Roosevelt Fire.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're
Appreciate your
welcome.
time.
Looking forward to working with you. Thanks.
We take care of setting the hearing. Thank you so much. Thank you. See you next month.
Okay, the next items on the agenda are for signage, and I believe the first one we're going to do will be the Quality Inn.
Quality Inn.
And that signage was given a variance by all their signage was given a variance by the ZBA. Their reasoning, if you read the resolution, was because it's coming into more conformance as required. They're also asking for a height symbol relaxation of 1.25 inches when it's 100 feet, so that's also in our purview to allow. And the only thing that's been put in is that the next time this changes, that the height will have to be addressed because it's too high for our current code. But again, this does make it more compliant. Anybody have any questions?
No, but I think this will look better.
I do.
I think this will
I
look
agree.
better, because that weird partial
Half
Q.
I know, I agree with you.
Yeah. I have this one. Resolution number 2024-13, Quality Inn wall sign and freestanding sign. Whereas, therefore be it resolved that the Town of Hyde Park Planning Board relaxes the standard letter height of 10 inches to 11.25 inches for the wall sign, and be it further resolved that the Planning Board recommends approval of the sign permit for the Quality Inn wall sign, and be it further resolved that the Planning Board recommends approval of the sign permit for the Quality Inn freestanding sign, and notes that any future alteration of the sign will require the sign height come into conformance.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Can you please come up here for a second, because I can't understand this.
Grace, come on down.
What's a whip?
You're the next contestant.
How does, so wait, this is the daylight version and this is the nighttime, and they look that
Yeah,
different?
thank you.
They look that different? Where does the border come from over here?
Well, let's let Grace sit down and get to the
No,
microphone.
no, I wanted her to see it, I just wanted her to see it. Because if I see the side view, it looks like there's something around this, but that's not shown here, and the letters here are actually smaller than here.
This is a smaller image. It is this sign. This is the wall. This is the background.
Mhm.
And here are the letters.
Then what is this border here that's not on this?
That's darkness. That is just
Night.
We thought you were framing it out because a lot of the other signs at the site have a border around them, that's why.
And it's probably because it doesn't look like that. You can't see the border on it when it's daylight.
But it's just meant to, there is no border, it's just meant to be
Right,
that goes to
right.
darkness
Just the
around
darkness of the
there.
building.
Unless you want it to simulate nighttime.
Well, it's a square on a square.
What is whip?
Bigger square on a square.
Put whip outside on the building, I'm sure it's not whipped cream.
Right.
Really?
Electrical feed.
So right now, there's one electrical feed in the middle of the sign, but there's nothing for the two goosenecks above it.
Well, I don't know that. We have to specify for the sign.
This, it has nothing to do with the sign, I'm just pointing it out. Can you still drill and put lights up
Most of
there?
the time, we do it afterwards, because the sign changes or something, so a smart electrician like Guillermo, he left it inside, coiled up, ready to be drilled outside.
The reason why I say that is because these are not meant to light the sign.
Right.
They were there because Ms. Lavorne at DC Planning said get rid of them, but they were there because to light for pedestrians the sidewalk in front of it. So I just want to make sure they're installed if that's possible.
Plus, it's part of the design unity.
Yes,
Like,
yes. So anybody else besides me have questions? Mine was a stupid question, as it
No,
turns
that
out to
was
be.
good. I was thinking the same thing.
If not, then we have resolution prepared, and this was assigned to Mr. Gercio.
Resolution granting size relaxation and recommendation for issuance of sign permits dated April 17, 2014, Resolution 2024-14. Whereas GNS Group Ltd. March 7 submitted sign permit application for Ready Coffee wall signs to be located on Building 6 at Hyde Park Town Center in the Town Center District, PW1 Sub-District. Whereas, therefore be it resolved, the Town of Hyde Park Planning Board relaxes the standard letter height of 10 inches to 11 inches for the wall sign. But be it further resolved, the board hereby recommends the zoning administrator issue wall sign permits for Ready Coffee.
Second.
Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously as well. Thanks for coming up here tonight, because I could not, I literally kept thinking, how does that get this border? What it?
Sorry, I'll definitely have to do something like Dark Night Sky, point to it or something.
No,
Thank
no.
you, it didn't occur to me.
Well, it's also because the red color was different. I knew what it was getting at there, because that's the same kind of lighting they have over at
Because
the
it's
Board of Elections
not
Center.
front lit. If it were
Right.
front lit, it would be nice and bright shiny red, but we don't do that for you guys.
No, there are other signs that are, there are
We
other
have
signs that are
trained
front
you
lit
well.
there as well, but yes.
Those goosenecks
Anyway.
will keep that red line.
Yeah, yeah.
So it probably won't.
Anyway, thank you, it's good to see you again.
Thank you.
Don't you think, Don?
And if there's no,
Those goosenecks will keep that red
if there's no other
lit.
business, may I get a motion to close, to adjourn the meeting?
So moved. Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any nays or abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you to the town board for, as always, providing the resources to televise this, and thank you, Tony.
I had to wolf my